Henrietta. And Carrie is going to take the minutes from the recording because she's up in Maine.
But she's also here on Zoom?
Carrie?
No, she's in Maine.
She's in Maine.
Oh, but we're recording it.
We're recording,
We'll send her
yes,
recording.
as always. Okay. Did you get a copy of the minutes?
I did.
Okay. Henrietta, did you get a copy of the minutes?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So we do have a quorum because we have 3 of us out of 5 of us. I did, Charlie is, ill, so he will not be here. Daryl is out of the country. Shane is probably out of the country as well. He has asked if we could, appoint somebody else or have appointed somebody else to be a regular member, because he's a regular member. So, I did ask Charlie, Jackson if he wanted to become a regular member. I haven't heard back from him, unless he replied to me today, which is possible. But anyway, that has to be done by the Board of Selectmen anyway. So we'll see if that gets done this month. Okay, so the meeting is called to order at 5:35. Motion to approve the minutes. Any concerns about them?
Oh, it's very well organized and,
Yeah, I think Carrie did a great job with that.
yeah. Perfect.
So
So I
You
I
move it?
second or
why don't you move?
I will move their
Okay.
acceptance.
So what is moving the acceptance, second by Henrietta?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, on to the next order, which is the zoning subcommittee. Woody and I continued to go to the meetings for that. We're still working on it. We had a meeting last Thursday. And I think that we're almost to the end.
That's what we said last
I
month.
know, we did say that. A couple of weeks before.
I read the minutes and I feel like I've read them before. Like,
I know.
deja vu.
Little tweaks here and there. So then it will go to the zoning board itself, and they'll probably discuss it for a couple of months, who knows? We're working hard though, to get it completed. Okay, marketing. I just want to say that Woody came to our church and made some announcements regarding our agenda that we want, that we want to get more affordable housing in town, and he did an amazing job. And you're going again this Sunday, is it? You're going
Next Sunday to Salem.
to Salem? Yeah.
And then I've got a date with St. Andrews in Marbledale in September.
Okay. So we need to work on what the New Preston and
Our Lady
Our Lady of Perpetual Help, yeah,
and the Episcopal Church here on
and
the
the
green.
Episcopal Church.
Did
Okay,
you ask Pastor Robin for contacts? I was going to when you were there and then I forgot. Cause you were having trouble getting in contact.
I have
You made this.
talked with her.
Oh.
Yeah, I wanted to mention a few things.
okay, do it.
And get your counsel. Right after the service, a man approached me and he said, I want to write a check. And I was stupefied. I didn't know, who to tell him to write it to.
Yeah.
I assumed that the Housing Trust would be the proper recipient of that. Although we have our own budget.
I know,
so-
but-
But I don't
but-
think we're, you can't.
We're not,
get tax
we're
deduction.
not a nonprofit, yeah,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be,
Okay, well, I'll get back to this
yeah.
Technically,
gentleman.
Judy, I think we are.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
You are
The
not.
town is a nonprofit.
And
Yeah.
so
Municipality
people
is
can
a nonprofit.
donate to the housing commission?
So now you get into a complexity that I don't know that you can actually donate money to a town for a specific thing.
My understanding, because I've talked about to Linda, our business or finance manager. And you can. And the housing, not all commissions have a fund, but the housing commission does have a fund that the town puts money into. So money could be donated. The only stipulation is that any money donated to the town and as a nonprofit, if you want to claim it on your taxes, it has to be used. I need to get the exact definition, but basically it needs to be used in a way that it benefits everyone. Like you can't discriminate in its use or there are stipulations about how you use it. In my mind, the trust is also would be a good option because
Well, we
it's
know
a
that
little
they
more
can do that,
complicated,
yeah,
you know,
I think,
to
yeah.
come into the,
But I think you should seek some advice on how to handle that first. But the town can receive funds and I pay attention to this because so many of my clients have eased land for open space,
Right,
right? And they get a great deduction and you keep saying, but you could also get the same deduction for affordable housing.
yes,
And so I think that's one of the things we want people to be aware of.
yeah, we're trying to
Yeah.
put that out there for sure. Okay, so we need to find out really the details of that.
I've got one
That
of
can
them.
be done with the
I
town.
think I gave you one or two.
You did.
Yeah.
Here, and then the housing trust address is in there.
So the answer is in here, okay. Second thing. Ben, another individual came forward and said, in effect, I know two people who've got acres of land and might be interested in having some conversations. And again, I was kind of froze and I said to the person, well, would you be willing to go with me? I mean, I don't know these people. And they said yes. But I thought it would be smart just to, do we have a strategy here? I didn't expect all this embarrassment of riches. But and it may not come to anything, but I don't want to make any missteps here if we're getting some nibbles and
I think,
Interest.
I mean, Bill Fairburn would be somebody too that would be good to do that because he would know the legal aspects of
Yeah.
the donation of land.
so
But if-
perhaps I should approach Bill or give him a call.
I
And,
think so,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Henrietta?
I was just gonna say, but if we're starting to go to all these churches, we should really have those questions answered. So that if the same thing happens at other churches, we would at least know whether we can accept donations or how we're
Yes.
coordinating with the housing trust.
So we
Yeah, I
need to,
couldn't agree
need
more.
to find that information out this week because you're going on Sunday again. Is
No,
that
not
right?
a
Or
week
the
from
following
Sunday.
week, okay. I don't know who to talk to here, but I'll start with Jim Britton and find out, or Linda Gomez.
Well, Linda can explain the
The mechanism,
and the limitations on the financial donations.
right,
I need to set up a meeting with people at the Housing Trust. I've been in contact with them. We worked on this brochure for them, but they were gonna try to set up a way to accept donations electronically, because that was the first piece of advice in the
right,
fundraising toolkit that we got from the Litchfield County Center for Housing Opportunity. So they were gonna look into setting up a PayPal, which was what they, the Litchfield.
Right.
I wish their acronym was easier to pronounce so that I didn't have to say the whole thing, LOCHO.
Yeah.
Whatever, housing opportunity.
you're right.
So, and Oscar has been working, he's got a whole bunch of social media posts and things ready to go and a logo. And it's just been hard to get Ted, I think he's back out of town. We played phone tag. Bill said, just let me know, and I said, nope, that was the question, when can you meet, so. Anyway, so I need to get a meeting with them on the calendar, maybe we can try to tackle all of this stuff.
There is, they do have a meeting, on this coming Thursday at
Okay,
4 o'clock. That's with, yeah, the, you know, whatever.
oh, with
Well,
Rika for
yes.
the,
Yes,
yeah,
so-
yeah.
and
The housing trust has a meeting?
the housing trust says, and I get
And
invited to
Lindsay-
these meetings.
Lindsay's been going as well, right?
Lindsay
From the housing-
facilitates it,
Mhm.
and she, you know, she writes out the actions that's supposed to be done by the next meeting. She's been very, very good about doing that.
So maybe
Yeah.
we can ask them just some of these questions, and I feel like when you, if anybody wants to meet about, and just talk about land and donating, see if you can either get somebody who knows from the trust, or like Judy or Jim or myself, I'd be happy to go, like, I think if you, it's hard scheduling that many people, so I feel like if you've got a handful of people here, one of us hopefully could make the meeting. If you're able to be a people, like, let's be
Yeah, yeah.
convenient to them. And then reach out to a handful of us and see
Yeah.
if any of us can make it, to just kind of help
Okay, that's good to know.
answer
Yeah.
questions. I,
That was an amazing result, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, then, and this was very nice, but Pastor Robin, offered to, put essentially what I said, the little sermonette I gave in a
Our journal,
future,
our journal that we have, that
yeah.
goes out to members and friends.
And I agreed instantly. I mean,
Yeah.
but that will get the word out to others that
Yeah,
don't ordinarily, come every Sunday.
yeah,
So you're referring to the meetings that used to be the COG meetings? Right?
no. No, the meeting I'm talking about just relates to the Baldwin Hill project,
Oh, okay.
but
that's the truck, yeah.
that's,
Yeah. Gotcha.
yeah,
So I, just as an aside, and it's water over the dam, but I showed it the site plan you sent to me
yeah.
to an engineer, and he was like, I don't understand why they're just doing one house. Anyway, I don't know their numbers. I haven't seen it.
They could do another one, but it'd be extraordinarily expensive engineering wise, but maybe with what you're talking about with stilts or whatever.
Well, I mean, I mean, talk to Wayne, for instance, about the Vincent property. What was done there was a total of 3 single family homes. But there was a lot that was left on the table. And so I think when you mentioned the stills, I'm not saying that's the solution up there or part of the solution. But we approach a lot of these things with sort of suburban, old school thinking. And if we're gonna sort of maximize what we can do with the resources that we have, or if we're gonna take what people conceive of as a single family house lot and reduce that, gap between the 375 the housing trust says they need and the 180 average they can sell it for, that's $195,000 that's gotta get, down somehow.
Yeah,
And so there's simple approaches, but those ones in construction tend to be Neanderthals. Okay, it is very difficult to sort of get people to start thinking innovative. And that's
Okay.
part of how you're gonna get more affordable housing.
yeah,
Which may,
I would just kind of add to that, my gut feeling is that part of that decision to just go for one has as much to do with the financial challenges and bandwidth of the housing trust, and that they're going for the low hanging fruit because everything else was way more difficult financially and permitting wise, crossing streams, et cetera, and
so one of the things that Bill said that was, I never heard anybody say this before, and it's an important topic. said the problem they're having is access to capital. You know,
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that's real,
yeah.
that's very real,
That-
and it's more challenging, just all the permitting and paperwork required to do the more complicated sections takes somebody's time to do, and they don't, they're, they're doing the best they can, I think, just to
No,
get
I
the low hanging
appreciate that.
fruit, yeah, so,
we have to
that's
work
my-
together.
yeah.
well, Bill did suggest that there's a possibility that they could split the property into 2 different lots and then have an, possibly in the future, that upper part of the lot could possibly be developed. I don't know where we are on that, where they are on that. Yeah,
Well, and I think if I don't understand all the legality, but if they're gonna model it after the business and, it's a limited equity, and I think they maintain ownership of the lot,
mhm,
and the people buy the house and lease the land, I don't know, I've read through the paperwork and, so it's a lot of stuff, I don't remember if they pay $1 a year, or if it's just
Mhm.
part of the whole agreement, but I think
they don't own the land.
I think the housing trust
Probably
probably
retains
maintains
the-
some control
Yeah.
over what happens with the rest of that lot over to the future.
So, Brad Sedito, who's on the housing trust. He's a developer, builder, whatever. And so he had some questions about it. And so they're gonna be talking about that at the next meeting on Thursday. And Bill brought up the fact that Ken Ricca will at some point need to do more engineering studies and will need money, but he could not between the time that we had our meeting last week and today, he was not able to get a definitive answer on that, but he said that Ken Ricca would do the work without getting the money up front anyway, so we don't have to worry about that. Whenever it comes up, we can decide to finance it. I'm sure we will. Any other questions about the Baldwin Hill project? And as far as the marketing, well, another thing I want is at the community day, we're gonna try to do some marketing at that, but that's not gonna take place. I think we should consider beginning to write letters to the editor, like into Voices or Waterbury Republican, the Danbury News Times. I know that I see letters to the editor, especially from the Southbury community, talking about the need for land, the need for affordable housing, just putting it out there in another way. So I think we should, at least once a month, put a letter in.
Judy,
Yeah,
the community day is not gonna get rescheduled, but the next big thing coming up is the Harvest Fest in
but
early October.
okay,
Same idea, I mean, it's down at the pavilion. but
and they'll allow us to be there.
I think so.
Okay.
It's like the WBA kind of controls over who can have a table, and usually nonprofits are allowed.
Okay,
As long as you have some sort of game or craft or.
and what is that? It's October what, 12th or something? I know it's when we're away.
It is,
Mhm.
you're right, I know, which I just figured out, put that on my calendar and freaked out a little.
Yeah.
I have
And you probably have a
lot.
number of things.
that yes, should be doing.
So it's probably October,
It's the
eighth?
Sunday of the.
probably eighth.
Ninth, maybe.
Monday's the 9th.
Oh, so it is you, okay.
Yeah, Columbus Day is the 9th, so it's usually that weekend, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
yep,
so it'll be that weekend.
but maybe if we get everything together. Other members of the commission. can
Oh, I hope so.
participate.
Yeah,
The other thing, just talking about awareness, and I'm gonna talk to her more, I just spoke with Missy Brown briefly, she's our social services
Yeah.
person who also works in Warren, and
Yeah.
they received one of those communication grants from Litchfield County Center for Housing Opportunity that we were not eligible for because it came through that some other health district or something.
Uh-huh,
But they did like a town party and they got a pizza truck. I don't remember if she said a band and something else, all for the housing truck, just to raise awareness.
okay,
And she said it went well. I mean, Warren's a different community, but I just thought it might be interesting to
okay, so find out,
talk to her about what she did, and maybe there's, if not the Harvest Fest, maybe there's some other gathering that we could piggyback
Okay.
onto, or.
Yeah.
Just another way to try to.
good idea. Any other suggestions for marketing? Henrietta or Woody?
Wayne, I talked to, after the service yesterday or, Sunday. And, Michelle, I know you had put me on to a video of the outgoing superintendent of Area 12.
Region
Region
12, yeah.
12,
And I watched it and there wasn't just a succinct thing that I could capture.
Quote, yeah, okay,
But Wayne said he had been to some meeting, I guess, a planning meeting with representatives from the 5 educational institutions in Washington.
mhm,
And he quoted a couple of rather jaw-dropping, Devereaux
152.
has 150 employees and only 2 live in town,
Yeah,
and one of them's about to retire.
yeah,
That's just astounding.
yeah,
It
What
is.
about the comment from the superintendent, though, that to me was really stunning. Was that he had gotten a lot of applications for the 3 teacher.
Oh, right,
Positions.
right.
And he thought he had these great teachers coming, and between submitting the application and getting the whatever the offer of the job, they discovered that the price of housing in Washington really wouldn't allow them to live here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I guess they all rejected offers.
I don't know, I don't know. I don't know, yeah, I can follow up, but it was a challenge, yeah. He said he had like 100 applicants for an elementary, he was so excited. And then, maybe once they went to the first round of interviews and people started really looking at trying to live here, it started pulling out.
Right.
Yeah. It's a challenge. I mean. We all know that.
yeah,
Well, perhaps a companion sheet, complimentary to the one that Ted
the
Bennett
initial one,
and I
yeah,
put together a couple months ago.
Well, if
Would
you
be it.
want, I could reach out to both of them and just try to get a quote, then you could add to your list,
Sure,
okay?
Okay.
Yeah, Devereaux and Region 12,
yeah,
okay.
But you are getting into sort of a unique situation, because when a number of years ago, the schools were approached, the private schools, about identifying their housing as affordable, they weren't able to do it. For I forget what the reasons were, Wayne Highland would know. So there's affordable housing that we need as a community. And then Region 12 would be a part of that community. The private schools also have a housing shortage and a need. But they're really probably not going to be part of our 10%. Their needs are very much specific to them.
Well, I think what you're talking, like Rumsey and Frederick Gunn build housing for their employees, but Devereaux and Montessori in Region 12 don't.
Oh.
So Region 12 Montessori and Devereaux to us are just like any other employer. You know, we've got all these quotes of employers that can't find employees because they can't live here.
Right.
So that's, I think, one part of the conversation. At that meeting, Rumsey and Frederick Gunn started kind of thinking about and exploring, well, are there avenues for us to get in this game here? Because we have a housing issue as well, but we actually build housing. So, and the real.
When was this meeting? Was it recently?
Look at my calendar, it was a
Right.
month or so
Yeah, so
ago.
it's within this year.
Yeah, it was this summer, it was just it was just at the end of the school year, the beginning of the summer before they all took off.
Yeah,
So probably early June, late May.
and this was, but was this something that Wayne organized?
Actually, I organized it with
Oh,
Peter,
okay.
but, at the request of Wayne for planning. So we were both there and Dimitri was there. And then the schools, and actually Peter Becker was really, it was interesting as we were talking, we were realizing he's the veteran. Because everybody else is brand new.
Yeah.
So Emily, the incoming head of school for Frederick Gunn was also there, so he wanted to
Introduce her.
introduce her and have her kind of get a lay of the land of the schools, but also of the role the schools play in our community. So they are our largest.
Significant, very
Yeah,
significant, yeah.
40% of the employees are involved, including the bus company, in school or education.
Yeah, I mean, and Wayne loves to say our business is education, but. I mean, when you think about 5 schools in a community this small, it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah,
It is, and we talked in that meeting, I mean, housing was a huge part of the conversation, but also just. Of ways that the town can help the schools and the schools can help the town, trying to create that synergy.
mhm.
Because they bring a lot of value to our community.
Education is the business of the town, it's been a long time, I don't know what you call it.
Mm.
But the natures of schools have changed dramatically, okay, and, so. My observation on planning, it's been a while since I was on it. Was that the schools would come to us when they wanted things, but they weren't that eager to share their master plans and what they were doing. So it would be really great if there could be more of a buy-in by the schools into the POCD, sustainability, affordable housing, and working together.
I think that's changing. I think they are, and I know Frederick Gunn School has been leading community conversations. Outreach over their next plan of development for across the road there. Because they're looking to make some changes over there and they have a bunch of conversations around that. And I think, I mean, the outreach I've seen, even in the 20 years I've been here, because of the focus of the schools on community service or connection to community. Rumsey students have been a lot more involved in the town in helping with events and.
Yeah,
they're trying to open.
They
the
help,
campus
they
up
help
more.
at the Judea Garden, for one thing.
Right.
Several of the schools do that.
And they set up here for Holiday in the Depot and they help set up for the library Halloween tour. So, and they've opened up, they've been working with Parks and Rec. They've had some Winterfest days, they did a sledding day, they opened up their ice for free, skating. So anyway, I feel like I've seen more than when I was first here. So, we'll see. The ongoing. We're hoping that that they will continue to communicate with each other, because I guess it has been a long time. We'll see.
So, okay. So as far as the letters to the editor, we only have 3 of us here. I'd be glad to write the first one. I'll do that this month and maybe you guys can think about writing a letter to the editor.
I could
next
write one.
month.
September.
Okay,
Do you have a list of papers you want them in?
well, I think Voices, Waterbury Republic and Danbury News Times. Which also, I guess Spectrum is part of that too.
It's an
Part of it.
ever-changing landscape, but
What? I know.
ever-changing landscape. I'm trying to think, how Voices does Don't they do a sermon of the month or something? I wonder if you could take your mini sermon and submit it to them somehow. Since you've already written it. I mean, they
What do
usually,
you think?
Yeah,
I mean,
haven't-
it applies not only to our community, it applies to all the communities in the world.
I haven't seen Voices in a while, so I need.
Oh,
to-
you don't get that? You don't get that?
I don't get it
sent?
in the mail or.
Really?
No,
Weird.
we get the Spectrum,
We don't get the Spectrum, we get.
I know,
Voices,
I
and
don't get
Voices
it
is-
anymore,
yeah,
which is weird.
all right, yeah, I'll explore that.
Okay, great.
I'll look for the, like, one of the last ones they did, so I can show you what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
if you don't know, yeah.
Okay.
That'd be great.
I think the one that Pastor Robin did that was published is on the bulletin board in the parish house. I think. There it was for a while.
Okay, so. We've talked about the possibility of maybe the real estate conveyance tax fees be devoted towards affordable housing at some point. So I got. This is an explanation of. You want this? You can have a copy. Thank you, Phil. So this explains it, so every time you sell your house, part of that. The cost of, when you transfer, some of that money goes to the state. And then also, some of it goes to the town. It's, I think for the. State, it's 0.75%. For the state, and then it's 0.25% for the town of Washington. So there are particular communities that are allowed to charge up to 0.5% for their municipality. But it goes into, I guess, the general fund as far as I know. But on the third page here, it shows over since July 12th, no, June 2012. How much money the town has collected for these conveyance taxes. And you can see that there was a big jump in June 21. That was probably related to everybody coming
Those were our
to
COVID-
Washington and,
COVID sales.
yeah, the
Yeah.
COVID sales. But it's, it's pretty maintained, over $200,000 a year. And I'm wondering if somehow or other we could convince the town body that this money could be conveyed to the housing commission or to, well, I guess to the housing commission. And then we would, of course, use that for affordable housing. So I don't know how you all think, what you all think about that, whether or not we should even think about it or pursue it. Just basically goes into the general fund.
So one thing that. I haven't done a lot of the math. And if you look on page 2 of 4, because I noticed this when I look at all the conveyance records for
Mhm.
new homeownership. A higher portion is collected from sales prices over 800,000.
Mhm.
And so I feel that maybe. If we were to target a portion of those. Somehow, or to tack on, a 0.25 to that portion. That might be more palatable.
You mean in addition to what they already collect, the
When I
0.25%?
spoke to the assessor's office, they said that the town collection part was up to us. Or there was some variation.
Portion that goes to the state and portion that goes to the county.
Right,
Right, and that the municipality. Says that plus an additional tax of up to 0.25 for the municipality.
well,
Anyway.
right now, that's what they collect.
Oh, they're doing
It's
the max. Okay.
Yeah, they're doing 0.25.
So. So if that's what they're doing, then I guess we would just be asking for a redirect of a portion of what's already being collected,
Yeah, I don't know.
and I guess.
Any
um,
thoughts about that?
Well, if the
Really?
town's committed to affordable housing, I think it's something that we should pursue. I mean, right now, we get some money for the commission, but really, what else is the town doing to make sure that we can
Yeah.
kind of meet the goal? So I think we
Yeah.
definitely should do that.
So we should, at some point, we need to approach the Board of Selectmen, who probably would have to go to a town meeting. I don't know, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's why
don't-
if it has to go to, I said, if it has to go to a town meeting, that's why the marketing is really important to get
Yes,
residents behind this concept.
yeah,
So what confuses me is, I never quite know how much money would be realized from doing this. Is it 10,000 a year, or is it
well,
200,000?
did you get to,
Yeah, I see this right here. So how much of that,
well, that is what is collected
well, I
for
understand,
the town.
So we could,
but it's not
You
just.
could
for the
request-
town, isn't it?
you could
Yes,
request-
this is what the town of Washington collects in conveyance fees.
I understand.
You're-
Does it all stay with the town, or is this also the portion that goes to the
No,
state?
it's separate.
Okay, yeah, no,
So we could just request whatever.
Yeah.
Seems
Whatever they
appropriate,
want.
half of the tax,
$100,000, right?
right? I
In
mean,
addition to what they're already giving us, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? It'll
and
come,
I'm just wondering if, we should do a little search, because I think there's somebody else has done this. Cause I vaguely or Jocelyn.
I vaguely remember that too. I could not find anything on the internet about it, but maybe
I just
Jocelyn.
wonder if we talk about collecting, for example, or redirecting a portion of the sales on the homes that are over 800,000, because that's how they.
Well,
the rate is higher, those guys.
Yeah, and it's also because I think the perception, I mean, it's all just money, it goes into the general fund. So in the end, it doesn't really matter, but if the perception is that we are earmarking the sale of these $1 million homes. We're earmarking part of that to go back to affordable homes to make it easier for.
How do you think that would go over though, with those people who have those higher levels?
Fine.
You think so?
I dare them to complain about their second tax. Seriously, no, because the people you have to convince that this is a good idea is the Board of Selectmen and the people who show up at a town meeting. And
Yes,
if they feel that those over $1 million second homes, that the transfer of this conveyance tax is actually helping to fund affordable housing, I feel like it might be more palatable. I'm just
I
floating
agree. I
that.
think that it's, the fact that it's real estate specific is a huge argument
Yeah.
to direct it back towards, as we're imagining.
yeah, but I'm wondering if we should discriminate between, among the different levels of the.
Well,
cost.
it already is.
But that is on the state level. As far as what I can determine.
Well, when I look at the form that's filled out with each sale,
But did you look at the form that I was given? Accidentally. Was the state form. Oh, here it is. But this is just for the state.
okay, so what I was talking about is what's filed with the town clerk.
Yes, okay, that's
And they
different.
already break it out as to what is over 800,000 and what is less, so it's kind of already being calculated, that's why I was just using.
Yeah, but I don't know, okay, but I think that currently. It's only 0.25%.
But is that on all houses or just houses over?
On all
800?
houses, no, on all,
Right, so why would we,
all sales.
so why wouldn't we just ask for a portion of all funding, all money that comes in to go to be earmarked for affordable housing? Why only homes over $850,000?
That's what I agree with that.
I do too, I'm just thinking that the perception, because it's being, we're not asking for the tax to be higher, so we're just asking for a reallocation of a tax that's
Yes.
being
Yes.
assessed,
Right.
right? But I feel that the perception of, us taking a portion of a house that, a $250,000 house, like,
That doesn't exist, but. okay,
no,
go
but
ahead.
you, and when those sell, it's just the perception that we're collecting a tax on the lower income houses to fund affordable housing. I feel like,
For people who may want to stay in the community. So I think that in some respects, if someone sells a house for $400,000, but right now, an older person can't afford to stay here. So if they're paying the tax anyway, then I don't know why it matters, because it can then help that person as well. A person who's selling a house for $400,000 or $500,000 to remain in the community.
sure,
So I don't know, I'm just.
One thing that I often hear when I talk to friends of mine who tend to be more towards the MAGA section of things.
Towards the what?
MAGA.
Oh. The mega houses? You mean?
No.
Oh, the MAGA. Oh, the MAGA, not the mega.
I'm often like at job meetings, the token Democrat, okay? But one thing people always say to me, we don't want a handout. We don't want to be treated differently. We just want opportunities. So one of the negatives to soil-based zoning is we have large lots, right? And so I think people want to be treated uniformly, and when you're writing laws and whatever, if you can have just something that's uniform, it's so much easier to craft and to apply.
Because they're paying the tax anyway, right?
Yeah.
And it's fair. There's no
Well, and then-
discrimination.
if you were to ask the selectmen to, I don't know. Reallocate 50% of the conveyance tax fees into the affordable housing fund, it'd be just one number. They would just look at the net that was collected and transfer whatever percentage you
Yeah.
asked for.
Right.
So that, you're right, that's simple, it's straightforward. And they're already collecting. They already use the 800,000.
I think that's just for the state. Where there's a difference.
Okay,
Okay.
I don't think so,
All right,
but that's
all
all
right,
right.
well,
That's all right, it
let's,
doesn't matter.
let's look into that further this month. And then, we can approach the selectmen. And wherever it goes from there, I don't know, I guess we'd have to go to town, I don't know if it has to go to town. Well, I guess it would just go into the budget. They would come, the finance committee probably
It would
would be
probably
next.
have to go to finance and
Yeah.
possibly a town meeting, I'm not sure. But yeah, gotta get through the selectmen first and
Right.
and hopefully they would help shepherd and they agree.
Okay. So
Are you
we're
gonna
gonna,
Are you gonna have to have some kind of plan for how this extra funding is gonna be used, other than the affordable housing? I mean,
There's already an ordinance around the affordable housing fund and what it can and cannot be used for. So I think putting it into that fund under the same restrictions that are already on it would probably be sufficient. I mean, obviously, I think. When advocating for it. Whether referring back to the affordable housing plan, the work that's been done, the goals, all of that helps. So that it doesn't seem like it's just going into a fund to sit there.
oh, yeah,
Would be helpful, yeah.
well, they're gonna have to come up with. We are gonna have to, or the housing trust is gonna have to come up with a lot of money. For this Baldwin Hill project, because there's gonna be a big difference between how much it's gonna cost to construct this house or houses and what they are gonna be able to charge based on, you know, the affordable housing rates. So that's what it would be used. Anything else on that? I'm gonna look into that one. I'm gonna call Jocelyn about that too, about what
Yeah,
she
I
might
feel-
know.
I feel like.
I feel like
Dr.
that, I feel it. I know that, I looked, when I looked it up, I saw that there was some places in California that did it, but I couldn't find anything around here.
And maybe they're just talking about it in the past year.
Yeah.
Thought she said somebody had.
Okay. So is there anything else you wanna bring up? Henrietta,
Not me, no.
not you? Okay. How about our visitor?
Exhibit.
We try to listen very hard to you, or I do anyway.
No, I'm saying, I appreciate the fact that you let me participate and, it's important,
Well, I know it's a passion of yours too.
yeah. For better, for worse.
Well, for all of us, they're worse. Okay, so if there's something else on the agenda? A motion to adjourn,
So moved.
no move, seconded Henrietta, all in favor? Aye,
Aye.
we are done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.